What's going on, guys? Welcome to a new series playing the early access game Factory Town. This game is a ton of fun. It's like a more relaxing version of Factorio. You're trying to build complex systems using conveyor belts, people, gears, those sorts of things. So we're gonna, let's see, start state default. So we'll jump into it. I played a little bit just to get familiar with the controls, but I am by no means an expert, so we're going to be learning this as we go. Great. So you start off with kind of a base, a bunch of different types of resources. We've got stone over here, grain, herbs, which is used, I believe, for medicine, but I've never used it yet. Trees. Cool. And a bunch of grassland. We got water over here that is needed for some of our buildings. Great. So it starts you off with a little bit of a tutorial. It says the first thing you need to do is gather wood, and so we're going to start doing that. Your default starting unit of your game is workers. They can do like one thing at a time, and what you do is we're going to right click on tree to set that as our task, and then drag that back over to our base. So we're going to have one guy gathering wood. We're going to set this guy to gather in stone. Let's have you start gathering grain. Great. And we probably actually need more wood, so we'll have multiple people getting that. Great. So up and running. Good. So we have gathered wood, right? The next thing you need to do is, because we're currently limited to our population, 4, so we're going to build a house. I'm going to plop this kind of out of the way, but close enough so that our people can get to it. And you can rotate with R. Plop a house down here. We're gonna have to restructure all of this later. There's a lot of benefit to having houses grouped around other buildings that give your houses benefits. But now we can see we can build 2 more people. All right. Create workers. So we're gonna place 2 more workers, which is the 1 key by default. We'll do another one there. We'll just have these guys start gathering wood, because you can never have too much wood. And more rock. So we actually need to have this guy right here get grain and take it to the house. So the houses are the ones that actually want to consume the grain. This will start generating happiness and coins, which is good. Build a path. So they're walking us through the game. So you can see that our people are kind of slow, but if we build a path here, we build a path here, that'll be much faster. And you can see they speed up, and they try to prioritize walking on those paths, which is really good. Lumber mill. Alright, so this is where we start turning wood into planks. So we are at our population limit. A lumber mill does require a person, right? So 1 person to work inside the lumber mill before it'll let you build it. So we're gonna build a few more houses. Let's pop another one down there. Good. Let's actually get 2 more. Rotate that so they're kind of close together. Good. So now we got plenty of room for more workers. We'll have you actually. We want more grain. Great. And lumber mill. All right. What are we missing? 20 wood. We need more wood, which is coming. So yep, we should be able to build it now. Good. And we'll just plop this actually right over here. Cool. So now we've unlocked a whole bunch of new buildings. The scaffolding, this is really where the game starts getting super interesting. We'll be able to use this to construct highways of materials, where the materials are moving themselves through conveyors and things like that. But for now, we've got to just select a recipe for our lumber mill. We're going to say, hey, start making planks. But in order to get planks, we have to get logs, right? So you can see over here on the top right, we've got input and output. So let's plop down another person. And his entire job is going to be to come here to the house. Come on, select. Come to the house. He's going to get the logs, and he's going to take it to the lumber mill. Great. Then we'll need another person to take the output of the lumber mill and take it to the base. Right? So we're going to start getting the logs, turning them into planks, taking the planks, putting them in our base so we can use them for other things. Great, so we're chugging along. I can see that we've unlocked Shoot. That's the way that we, in a little while, will get to start automating some of our production, which is really useful. But for now, we're just getting up and running. Okay, we got 10 people. We can plop down another house, which is probably a good idea. This will probably be our last house in this little section here. Because we don't want to go crazy. Let's see what other buildings we've unlocked. I hit B to open up the build menu. Yeah, let's see, we have a workshop now, which is really useful for letting us create wheels and other types of things. What we're really looking for is a food market, right? So rather than taking the wheat to individual houses, we can plop a food market down, and it will, every house in the area will get it. You can see we've also unlocked, there's a whole bunch of really cool things in the pathing. We got structural blocks, but you can see we start getting like stone ramps, which really move things up quite a bit. And get some decorative items as well. Just plop down a potted plant right here by our base. Beautiful. That is a beautiful looking plant. Yes. All right, what does it want us to do next? Upgrade a house. Cool. So upgrading house, 10 coin, some planks. We can do that. Good. And now our population cap has gone up. Each house can hold 4 people now. So we'll just want to do this with as many as we can. What is this guy doing? What's our lumber mill doing? Oh, he's waiting on planks. Good. Let's. We got 3 planks right now. We need 5 to upgrade some more. Okay. We also need to upgrade our base, which takes 20 coin, 10 plank, 20 stone, which we have, and 4 happiness. Right now we have 2 happiness. So we need more stone, or we need more planks. So let's increase our population doing plank work. So for that, we're going to select this guy, take the logs to the lumber mill, and then we'll have, you can see now he's going to have a little bit more input and be able to work on planks more frequently. Yeah, the planks come out pretty quickly, but he's got a queue now because there's more people putting in logs than there are taking out planks. So he'll always be able to continue chugging along, and we'll see our planks rise a little bit more steadily. Another cool thing we can do with these production facilities is if you select it, you can choose how many workers are working in there. So right now we have 11 workers, but if we bump this up to 12, you can see that our speed of production goes up to 125, and our population cap goes to 14. We don't actually want to have that working right now, but as we dial in this system, if we want to control the speed and output of some of our production facilities, that's the way to do it. But we want to go back to here. We need to work on happiness. So until we get our food mart up, we're going to start getting these people collecting grain and taking them to each of these houses so that we're generating more coin, because we get a coin each time they deliver grain. And we want to make sure that that's up and running. So we need to upgrade our base. We're waiting on 20 coins now and 4 happiness, which I think is about to happen right now. Yep, great. So each house is getting 1 happiness from 1 item being sent to it. Obviously, the more variety of items you send to these houses, the better these folks will do. We're just waiting on this base to upgrade. Unfortunately, I don't think there's any speed control in this game yet, so you can't speed up the game, but hopefully that'll be coming in a future update. This is in early access. It was just released last week, I believe. Or this week, yeah. So there we go. We're upgrading our base. Now we can build 4 additional houses. And we got the food market, which is really important for us. So now all these people, we got 4 people taking grain directly to houses. What we want to do, open up the build menu and build a food market. And you see this has a giant circle around it. So anywhere, any house that's in this food market realm of zone of control will take items from the food market. So we can have every food gathering person that we're using in this system deliver just to the food market, and these houses will buy them at a kind of a predictable rate. Great. And the game now wants us to build a food market. So what are we waiting on here? Food market. Waiting on 20 gold. So we're about to get that right now. There we go. And now we have a food market. So let's pause real quick. Every single worker that is taking grain, take it to the food market. You take it to the food market. Take it to the food market. And this guy, take it to the food market. Food market. Great. So now all of these people are going to take their items to the food market, and you can see the houses are still buying them. They're still getting happy. But now we've got to a more efficient delivery system rather than having each of our people going to separate houses. Great. Now they want us to build a grain mill. This is where things are going to get really interesting, because as soon as you build a grain mill, right, the grain mill will take wheat, which they're getting from this field over here, and will turn it into bread. And the reason that's important is that if you open up the food market, right now we're selling grain, which gets us 1 coin. If we sell bread, or flour rather, we get 5, right? So we're just increasing the input and making our output be a little bit higher than it would have been by itself. So, what do we need to do to build a grain mill? 30 coin. We're very close. So let's just figure out where we're going to place this. I think we're going to plop this down right here. This is not super efficient, but what this will let us do is we'll be able to do our first little bit of automation here. And you'll see how that's important, right? So grain mill right there, good. And so now we're going to say, you're going to make flour. Okay, cool. So first thing we want to do is we're going to have all of our workers taking the grain from here to the grain mill. We don't want to be selling just straight up wheat anymore. That's no longer efficient. Right? Select you and grain mill. Great. So everyone's going to the grain mill. Okay. But our flour is going to start building up in this grain mill and not going anywhere. Oh. This worker is, I must have clicked the wrong thing, but it's doing what I was about to show you, which is this worker is just taking stuff from the grain mill to the food market. And I can see all these houses are starting to buy the flour, which they love a lot more, and they're getting 5 coin instead of 1. So our yellow coin output is going through the roof, which is great. They want us to build a workshop, but for now we're going to pause, and we're going to see if we can automate this one worker out of a job. And we're going to do that by, he's going to now just be taking grain to the grain mill, but there's the output is in the grain mill. You're going to see it start building up. It's at 2 right now. There's nobody taking it to the food market. We're not generating any coin. What we're going to do is we're going to take a chute, and we're going to plop it down right there in the output, and we're going to drag it over to the input of that, and then we're going to what's the control for this? Remove block X, right? So that's not working. Let's see. Output here. Boop, boop. Okay, and then boop. Great. So now, just by having chutes, these are going directly from here into the food market without any of our people having to do anything. And all we did was we put it in the output here. You get to see little output arrows. So a lot of buildings only have 1 output arrow, which is fine. But they have lots of input arrows, so people can come in from any direction, which is great. But what we want to do is just let them start, let our workers feed the grain mill, and let the grain mill, whenever it spits out stuff, goes directly to food market. But now you can see we've got quite a bit of input, because we've got 4 people dropping off wheat, dropping off grain, and it can't keep up with the output. So what we can do is we can take, we can bump this up 1. We're out of population, but we could have bumped this up 1 worker, would have increased the speed of the grain mill to 125, and it would have dropped the price down quite a bit. So that's good for now. These houses just kind of need to be placed. The people don't actually go there once you've got it set up. So we probably want to start building our houses a little further out, kind of out of the way. So we'll do that right here. Let's see, house, but we still want to be aesthetically pleasing. So we'll just place them in a cutesy little neighborhood. And now we've got 22 workers that we could use capacity-wise, which is great. So we are going to bump this up 1 notch. We want to have the grain mill do a better job of keeping this queue down. You can see that the speed of this is gone up quite a bit. Bump it up again because it's still not keeping up with the input. Let's go up again. I would have expected this number to change, but it doesn't seem to have done so. But it is making a dent out of this input, which is good. So we can probably drop this down to 4. Yeah, so you can see how that process really lets us fine-tune the speed at which the output will happen, because some facilities, especially later on in the game, will go slower or faster than others, and we'll be kind of waiting on that system to work in a predictable way. Great, so this will chug along nicely for a while. We've got the grain mill feeding directly into the food market. which in turn will make all these houses happy. And you can see our yellow coin generation has gone up quite a bit. So up next, they want us to build a workshop, right? Which takes a person, takes planks, and it works similar to the other facilities in that we select a recipe, and as long as it has the input materials that it needs for that recipe, the output will be predictable. So we've unlocked a whole bunch of new structures, great. And you can come in here and we can see, yeah, we have a whole bunch of recipes we can make. But for now, we're going to start with wheels, right? Wood wheels. We need this to build a wagon, which is really our next step to replace our workers. And it's really the only thing we have. So it takes planks, chugs on planks for 5 seconds, and pops out one wheel. So we're going to select that. You can see it's waiting for an input of a plank to have an output of this. Our planks are all being fed into our base right now, which is great. But we are going to take one person, plop them down, and we're going to say, hey, take the planks and put them in the workshop. So this little person is going to start dumping in planks, but we probably need 2 people because it takes 2 planks to make a wheel, and we want to get that going as fast as possible. Great. So it's about to start building wheels, and those are going to start piling up in here. We don't want that either. So plop down another person, and we'll say, hey, take the output of that, just dump them in the base, right? So your base can have it has its own inventory. Once this fills up, we will have to come up with better storage systems, and the game is asking us to do just that right now. So it's saying, hey, build a barn. All right, so we come in here. A barn is kind of like a general purpose storage facility, right? It says provide shaded storage players can use when placing buildings. So we're gonna plop this down kind of close. We don't want our people traveling all over the place. Let's say right here is a good spot. Great. And so one of the things you notice is if you don't click and drag when you select, when you say, hey, pick up these items and move them to here. If you just click the item, it will drop it off at the place that it thinks is the best to drop those off. So now that we've got a barn, these people are going to start storing stuff in here like crazy, which is good. Unless we explicitly tell them to shove them in the base, the barn is a good place for this because the barn is really one of the main features we'll start using for automation as we start hooking up conveyors and things later on. So we're going to have them, the barn has pretty good storage, and we'll go in here and let them do it. We also, from the barn, can set up an item filter and say like, hey, don't allow these to go through. I'm not actually sure if that item filter is additive or subtractive. Maybe it's only letting things through, or maybe it's saying don't allow it. Maybe it's forbidding. I'm not sure what to test that. So now that we've got some wheel generation happening, we gotta wait for a couple of wheels to pop up. We can start creating wagons, right? So to do that, we would open the build window, workers, yeah, now we have a new type of worker, which is a wagon, right? And this is really useful because we're able to carry more items at once between locations. So we can just plop that down. It'll sit there just like a regular person and wait for some kind of order. So what we need to do is have this wagon take planks. Do we have enough planks? What's wrong with our plank production? Are we out of... What are you doing? Why is our lumber mill not working? Okay, let's... Okay, he's just going to fetch logs wherever he can and hopefully take them here. I'm not quite sure what's going on. Early access game, it's still kind of tricky to see what all is happening with our folks at all times, but we can sort this out, right? So nobody is being tasked with taking logs to... Yeah, he's taking logs to there, which is not what we want. So we want to say, hey, take logs to the lumber mill. And actually, we probably let's use that as an example for our wagon, right? We can say take logs to the lumber mill. So this wagon is going to go over there, get 4 logs, take them straight to the lumber mill. So one of the things we can start doing, yeah, we've got our people cutting down trees. This tree is about to be completely gone, and we'll have to move them to another area to start chopping trees. But right now we've got our wagon. He's dropping off 2 at a time, which is really useful. But let's build another wagon. Build a worker's wagon. We don't have enough materials. Okay, so you. I want you to take these to the workshop where we're waiting on. Oh, he's going so inefficiently. Yep. So we're gonna have him stop this right away. This is the worst. So you're gonna take him to here, and then we'll have one worker that takes him from here to here. Great. Where are you going? This guy is choosing the worst possible path. The pathing's still kind of glitchy at times, but this game is super fun. I hope you enjoyed it. That'll be enough for this episode. In the next one, we'll try and get a little bit more automation up and running, and we'll just keep chugging our way through the tutorial. They want us to build a supply chute, which is really the kind of the first step of getting better automation up and running. We're also gonna have to solve our food problem soon. We're starting to deplete these grain resources. Hopefully, we'll get up to a farm. But if you enjoyed, please let me know. I will respond and read every comment. I appreciate you watching. Thanks. See you next time.